Wow.
So I'm not quite sure where we left off, but just because we got a lot going on in the show today, let me just start off with saying that yesterday's total, the first day, $11,500, which is amazing, raised. Everything from people donating $5 to $500. Yesterday, Seth doesn't know this yet.
No, how much?
$12,700 just from yesterday alone. Amazing.
That's so
amazing.
Great. That's so great, guys. It's so generous. And really, $1, $5, if everyone is watching is giving that. Oh, wait, the most important thing to help the donations. If you're watching right now, please share this.
Right.
So I don't mind you going away for a second. If you need to click, get the link, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Facebook. The more people that know about this, the more people that are donating. So please, please share this. And don't forget, tonight we have a show with Melissa Manchester. We have 2 a day. But if you're watching right now, please share what you're watching.
So we wanted to just share a little bit of what's going on with our lives. And long story short, we've had issues with our fireplace. And finally, like 2 days ago, we got a call from them saying, we're ready. And we were like, do we do it? Do we have this person come into our house?
Because we're really socially distancing.
We really are. And so, but we decided to do it. Why? Because we were so fortunate that the person who was installing was extra careful. And because the reality is, and I'm sure Dr. John LaPook will tell us more about this, the reality is this is going to go on for a while, and you have to have people in your home and for whatever emergency, whether it's the plumbing, electric, whatever. And so the person, because they have an elderly relative, I think he said his father, John is his name. John said his father is in his mid-80s with underlying health conditions. He came in, he was wearing gloves. He was he just put them on before coming in. He kept, I think, actually 8 feet distance the whole time he was in the house. He rolled like plastic on the floor going from the door to the fireplace. He never touched anything other than the doorknob, which afterward I cleaned off the best I could with disinfectant. But he was so respectful and understanding. My hat's off to them. And especially the awareness I'm just really thankful for that.
Yeah. So if you need your fireplace repaired, call John. Okay, so we got to talk to Dr. LaPook.
Let's do one quick before we bring on Dr. John, and that is we realized one of the things that goes on, life goes on, and one of those is birthdays. And so we thought we would start doing some shout outs for birthdays of people that we know. And then we also thought that we would love to find out how you are celebrating your birthday or wedding or what you've got going on.
I had a birthday right before this hit just 2 weeks ago, and I was able to have a game night. But now, obviously, it's impossible. So how are you celebrating your birthday? But we want to also
so do that. So you can email starsinthehouse2020@gmail.com. Yeah. But some of the birthdays, Seth.
Yeah, we have 3 big Broadway birthdays today. We have the amazing Vanessa Williams. I texted her. She said she's celebrating her birthday in her flat in the sky in London. You know, she was there doing City of Angels. So happy birthday, Vanessa Williams.
And she's going to be a guest.
And, she's going to be a guest. She can't wait to do it. Just not today. Then we have the fabulous birthday. Second Tony Award, Sutton Foster. Her birthday is today. And the man that writes the best vamps ever. What's the other one? John Canner's birthday is today. We have 3 amazing birthdays, but we want to know how you're celebrating your birthday. Email us
starsinthehouse2020@gmail. Okay, so we want to bring on
our medical correspondent. Yet again, this is the Broadway show, but of course we've got a medical correspondent every single show from CBS, the chief medical correspondent from CBS, Dr. John LaPook. How are you, Dr. John LaPook?
Hi, guys. And I like to say you guys are the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. And I do like the marriage here because I think we do need to get information out to people at the same time as do what you're doing, which is so crucially important. We're asking people to physically be separated from each other, but we all need as human beings to be together emotionally. So we know that when you're isolated, it's not good for your health. So I applaud what you're doing. And I do want to give you the latest bulletin. I just watched the presidential, there was a news conference from the White House and President Trump and the coronavirus task force, and especially Dr. Birx, B-I-R-X, who is a virologist and very well respected. She made a very specific point. I want to make sure everybody is listening to this. She appealed to millennials. there is some data coming out of Europe right now. I know everybody's saying that, the young are relatively protected, but there is some data coming out of Europe that people who are millennials that age can get sick themselves. I mean, children seem to be still relatively protected, but the millennials especially, number one, they can get seriously ill. And number two, they're still kind of out there in large groups, congregating, hanging together, hearing in the news, well, they're relatively protected. No, this is a time, I get the instinct, people, there's a yin and yang here between how can I keep myself safe and how do I keep everybody, the community safe. And guess what? They're the same thing, because by keeping yourself safe, you're going to keep others safe. So specifically the millennials, if you even have just slight symptoms or a cough, or even had no symptoms, you can bring it back and infect everybody who is in your immediate contact, your mom, your grandmother. They may be vulnerable. So they made a very specific point of asking people to be careful. The other thing that was kind of hopeful is they talked about a big partnership, private-public partnership that's helping to get testing out. There still is a backlog. Again, Dr. Birx pointed this out. I want to immunize people about what's going to happen with numbers. There is a backlog of tests that needed to be performed. They were taken, they were saved, and they're waiting to be run. But they didn't have the throughput. They didn't have the ability to run them. That throughput is being dramatically increased. Therefore, what she said was, don't be surprised to see suddenly the numbers go up dramatically. That does not mean that in real time they're going up dramatically, although we're expecting they're going to increase. Don't be faked out by that.
By the way, speaking of millennials, there are some millennials who are very respectful.
And taking your advice.
Which is
and right here.
This is the 30th. No, I'm sorry. There we go. That's a millennial. My 26th birthday was last night. I FaceTimed with friends in order to take out. Thank you, Francesca. So, Dr. LaPook, people are listening to you.
No, and I want to just add that, some people have said, aren't you? I'm a practicing doctor. I'm fielding calls. I've never had a week like this ever in my almost 40 years of being a doctor. How many texts, emails, phone calls I'm handling from patients related to my job at CBS News, where I'm the chief medical correspondent, and having to do with other things. The reason why I'm taking the time out to do this is a whole other audience that I think, in addition to the people who watch the evening news or the CBS This Morning, this is a whole other audience. I think it's important what you're doing to keep people socially together, crucial for their health, and I'm all for that. But I also want to get in the medical information that's so crucially important to this group of people, to your audience.
By the way, look how lovely this is. 4 shows in, I feel like you were all my friends. And Dr. LaPook's information and empathy helps my anxiety. Thank you all.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right, so Dr. LaPook, by the way, we're going to bring you back later today on this show, but you're also going to be back at 8 o'clock. It seems like things change every hour, so who knows what updates you're going to be giving us.
They really are. And I just want to add one other thing. I'm starting to get emails from patients and others who are saying, I've heard that this drug is helpful or that drug is helpful. Can you prescribe it for me just in case? I think it is deeply unethical to do that for people who are feeling well. I get the instinct. I do. Just in case you don't want to be caught short. But we don't want to do the stockpiling and see shortages and then have not enough medications and things for people who really need it. Remember, it's selfish. It's in your self-interest not to stockpile, because what's going to happen is if there's a shortage for people who get sick, it's going to reverberate back to you and your loved ones and your community eventually. So please, I get the instinct. We all have it. How do I help myself and my loved ones? We have to think community now. Community.
Brava. All right, you're coming back. I'm going to bring up another doctor of music. Thank you, Dr. John LaPook. Hold on, I'm clicking you out. See you soon. Here he is, one of the most talented people in the world, direct from his home studio, the brilliant Mr. Marc Shaiman.
Yay, Marc.
Marc, tell us where you are.
He's muted.
Oh, hold on, you're muted. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I muted you passively aggressively. Sorry. Where are you right now?
How often I've wished I could mute you.
We're beginning that way. Watch how quickly I can take you off the stream. So you better watch it.
Why is it being mean to Seth? I love you. You know I adore you. I adore you both.
I'm obsessed with you. So wait, tell us where you are. Is this your house? What is it? What do you do there? Go.
We have a house upstate. I mean, upstate to me is funny. If you look at a picture of New York, we're at the very bottom. We're we're downstate, but it's up from Manhattan, and we came up here as soon as this all started happening. This is where we shall be.
And is this really like the studio where you write things?
Yeah, you can see behind me. I have a studio. I write with Scott in New York at 20th Street at his place. We have a lovely soundproof studio. Then on mine and Lou's apartment on 26th, I have a room that's the studio. And then here I have this as well. And I have poor Scott Risette, my co-producer, music tech, who is the one who has to make all these studios all be the same and all work the same way.
Okay, so for those people that are like, I only know Broadway stars, I just want to tell people who you are. Basically, Marc has been like the music person for all of Hollywood and all of Broadway. So I'm just going to quickly give some of your credits, and then you tell me what I'm forgetting. But he worked with Bette Midler for a million years. You can see him make all these crazy appearances. He was on broadcast news. He played for the Sweeney Sisters on Saturday Night Live. He's scored so many movies, just actual music scoring. And then he and his writing partner, Scott Whitman, came to Broadway with Hairspray. They've written so many amazing shows. Hairspray, Martin Short, Fame Becomes Me, Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can?
Catch Me If You Can.
No, but that would have been better, yeah.
The hell? I'm desperate for a job. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Some Like It Hot is happening soon. The Mary Poppins sequel. And Marc writes the music and he co-writes the lyrics. Oh, and he also wrote with Billy Crystal all those amazing Oscar opening numbers.
It's a wonderful night for Oscar. Yeah.
That's all I get as a measure?
Oscar, Oscar. Who will win? Who will win? It was a parody of what they used to do in the old days.
Yes.
Okay, I know you tell me that I always make you tell the story, but I know there are a lot look, there's a 30-year-old listening. I don't think everybody knows your amazing Bette Midler story. Can you please tell me? It's just so inspirational how you wound up sort of visualizing and making it happen that you were going to work with her.
Well, I'll try to make it short. One day I cut school, either junior high school or high school. I only went up to 10th grade. So anyway, I cut school and went to New York City to see Bette Midler's second Broadway concert, which was called Clams on the Half Shell. And while I was watching, I actually had this little fantasy in my head that I would run down the aisle and I'd say, "Oh, Miss Midler, I know every note of every song and every arrangement of all your records. Please let me play for you." And I would run on stage and I'd play this like upright piano that she was sitting on top of, and she'd go, "Hey, he's good," to the audience. I actually had that little fantasy. So as luck would have it, when I was still not even 18 years old. I met some people in New York when I was like 17, I guess. No, I was still 16. And they moved across the hall from one of Bette Midler's backup singers. So I used to go in and play for them on the weekend, the Comedy Review, and stay with them across the hall from one of Bette Midler's harlettes, they were called. So I was like, "Oh my God, it's a harlot." And then the harlettes decided, let's do our own act when we're not on the road with Bette Midler. And they were looking for a musical director. And so here I was like, me. I knew the harmony that they wanted from studying Bette Midler records and studying the records that Bette Midler records, led me onto. And I would work for nothing. And I was across the hall. So I became their musical director. And then the act was a big hit in New York cabarets. And Bette Midler said, "Girls, I'm doing another act, another tour. Come and I'll let you open my show with your own act." So I was flown to LA to teach Bette Midler's new band the Harlettes material. So I went to the SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals. It's a rehearsal studio and has a little couch in the back. And the band is up on a little stage. Worked with them on the Harlettes material, then went and sat back on the couch, and it was time. And then Bette Midler walked in the room. I was freaking out. Have I mentioned that I was a Bette Midler fanatic?
How old were you?
Maybe by then I was 17.
Wow.
And I was a Bette Midler fanatic, posters all over the wall. I mean, just day and night studying Bette Midler records. So there she was. Oh my God, it's Bette Midler. So she walks in, they start rehearsing. I'm just absolutely in heaven. I can't believe I'm sitting on this couch, and there they are up on the little stage. And then at one point she said to the band, "Why don't we do No Gesturing?" And the band looked through the music and they said, "There's no song here called No Gesturing."
Oh.
And so one of the harlots went over to Bette and said, so she said, almost Norma Desmond, like, "You back there, can you play No Gesturing?" And I actually got to walk towards a stage saying, "Oh, Miss Midler, I know every note of every arrangement of every song."
It's out of a movie.
Let me play for you. So yeah, I visualized it, and it actually came true.
And can we just show some of your comments? Love your music, Mark. Hey, Uncle Mark.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay. What is your life, Mark? So cool. Simply amazing. And then this sass. If you don't know Marc Shaiman, you best get on Google and learn. All right, so Mark, you've got a lot of Broadway, and I want you to come back and do kind of your whole Broadway canon with your actual writing partner. But I'd love some movie magic. What can you give us?
Well, when you said maybe do 3 songs, I realized, well, I've been Oscar nominated for 3 songs in my life. I've been Oscar nominated 7 times, and 3 of those nominations were for songs. Lost them all.
You got Oscar nominated. Appreciate it, man.
Okay.
Thank you. So wait, someone actually literally sort of has a request, James.
Look at this. The soundtrack for my favorite movie, When Harry Met Sally, shaped my life. I love your music, and I love everything about all of this. Thank you all.
Thank you, Heather. That was sort of my big break. I mean, I've been working in show business a lot. But then Billy Crystal and Bette Midler's movie careers took off, and Billy introduced me to Rob Reiner, who said, "Want to do the music for When Harry Met Sally?" because he needed someone who knew every great song from the American Songbook. And then Bette suddenly was doing Beaches, and they needed someone to help choose what songs she would sing. So for When Harry Met Sally, I put together with Rob Harry Connick Jr. the arrangement of It Had to Be You, and then with Bette on Beaches, I'm the one who brought her Wind Beneath My Wings.
I love it.
In 1 year, because everything blew up. I mean, both those records were huge successes, and the biggest successes for those artists. I mean, yeah, I really earned my stripes then. I think that was Bette's first #1.
And you were so young. And by the way, also, weren't you like not staying in a hotel? What's that story?
Oh yeah. When Bette said, you back there, and I went and played, well, she was like, well, why don't you stay for the whole rehearsals for the tour? I don't know why I'm talking that way. She doesn't really talk that way. And so I was like, okay, but she's thrifty. And so instead of putting me in a hotel, I just stayed into the guest room. And she was renting a house that was rather small. So it was like me and Bette Midler, like down the hall from each other, eating breakfast across from each other, her in a nightgown with no bra, and me also the same. Yeah, it was culture shock. Yeah.
This is unbelievable. And you're like in your early 20s. It's just incredible. Okay, so talk about this song. I'm just so curious because I'm so not a composer. This song you're about to do, like, how did you come up with it? Like, what's your thought process? How do you just noodle at the piano? What?
Well, yeah, this song, I think I'm going to do little truncated versions of them. This was from, A Sleepless in Seattle.
Yes.
So Nora Ephron was the director, and most of the music of the movie were old songs, just kind of like When Harry Met Sally, only I really got to score it with my own original music in between the songs. But there was one spot where we all decided, let's make this an original song. So I had this little lick for the first time Tom Hanks sees Meg Ryan in the airport. So that was already in the score. And so we thought, well, let's make a song out of that. So I had just finished Harry Connick Jr.'s second record, and he had this fantastic lyricist named Ramsey McLean. So I asked Ramsey, you want to write lyrics to the song for this movie? At that point, I guess I was still kind of like too green as a lyricist. Why did I not do it myself? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Ramsey is fabulous and quite a character. So he wrote the lyrics to the song, and then our friend Harry Connick Jr. sang it for the soundtrack. And lo and behold, I mean, there's lots of other behind the scenes stories that I can't get into because I can't. But let's just say when the song got nominated, it was, I don't want to say I gloated, but there were some people who I was just happy that we had achieved this moment because, you got to read between the lines. So there we were. And that first nomination, it was really kind of wonderful because Bruce Springsteen was nominated for Streets of Philadelphia. There was no doubt that Bruce Springsteen was going to win that Oscar. So the first experience I got to go knowing full well that year was Bruce Springsteen, Dolly Parton, Janet Jackson. They were all superstars nominated. So I knew there was no way we were going to do it. I knew Bruce Springsteen was going to win. And so it was a really kind of relaxing sort of experience. And got to play it on stage for Keith Carradine did it at the Oscars.
Is this what you're about to do? Because
I love a wink and a smile. Yes, that's what I'm about to do.
Brava. All right, I'm going to take myself off the stream with James. Remove from stream.
Oh, no, here. Oh, there we go. Okay. I remember the days of just in time, hanging around in sleepy town forever. Back roads empty for miles. Well, you can't have a dream and cut it with it. But when I saw you, well, I knew we'd go together.
We're not sure if the quality is good.
What?
We're not. The quality got weird as soon as I went off screen.
Oh dear.
And it wasn't just your singing. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, tinny sound again.
We don't want that.
It was so good up until that moment.
Right.
Something about music online that doesn't always travel.
Okay, hold on. So what if you play right now? Let me just hear what it sounds like.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You need to be on.
I don't know if it's Ozzy, but let me take myself off and see if it makes a difference.
Testing, here I go. This is real life. How's that now?
I think it's better with us listening.
I think it's best with us on. As much as we'd love for it to just be you, Mark, I think it works better when we're on the sound.
I have no idea why.
Weird reason.
That's all right. This way you can yell out.
Bravo!
Okay.
We'll make out the whole thing. It's kind of a love song, so we're gonna.
All right, I'll pick it up where I left off. Right?
No, start from the beginning. Start from the beginning.
Really?
Yes.
I remember the days of just keeping time, of hanging around in sleepy towns forever. Back roads empty for miles. Well, you can't have a dream and cut it to fit. But when I saw you, well, I knew we'd go together. Like a wink and a smile. Leave your old jalopy by the railroad track. We'll get a hip, double dip, tip toppy to see Cadillac. So you can never ride up and don't you go slow. It's only green lights and all right, let's go together. Like a wink and a smile. Now my heart hears music, such a simple song. Sing it again, the notes never end. This is where I belong. Just the sound of your voice, the light in your eyes. We're so far away from yesterday together. With a wink and a smile. We go together like a wink and a smile.
Theme. Mark, brava. Look at this. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've heard a song I've loved and I've looked back on it and said, oh, Marc Shaiman wrote it. Well, that makes sense.
Broadway Dork 23. Thank you.
You still got it. Okay, I'm getting requests.
Now, how was the sound? Did that get any better?
Much better, yeah.
Everyone was commenting.
And James has some fun stuff.
I have a few Actors Fund updates. Batch 1. Edward from Ohio, $25. Heather from Maryland, $100. Eileen from California, $100. Go ahead, Mark. D from New York, $25. Aaron from Portland, Oregon, $25. And Donna from New York, $50.
Bye-bye.
Let's talk about John Kander vamps more.
Let's go back and forth.
Can you imagine? And they're all simple. I mean that in no bad way. It's just,
I know.
It could be more. It's just the chord. I mean, but what's more? Oh my God, I'm getting chills. I mean, what could be more brilliant?
But there's also the amazing
ever written a good vamp. I mean, who can ever write a good vamp when that already is out there? Oh my
what's
God.
the other one? Was it? It's just rhythm. I mean, it's perfect. I think he's 91 today or 90. Yeah, incredible. Okay, so Marc Shaiman, I'm getting some important requests that you give, quote unquote, more juicy stories. So you got to give us something. Vanessa Brown just texted me someone. You got to give us some dish.
Well, I skipped over the juicy story over that last song.
Yeah, we picked up on that, dear.
Yeah.
What do you?
It involves too many people. But I'll tell one part of it is there became a big discussion about the song, about the lyrics, and about there's just suddenly was like, because everything's always a fight on not everything. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was a lot of fighting on that movie about songs. They wanted to get pop songs in it. Nora Ephron, the director, walking to a meeting once said to me, "Help me here, help me." So when they kept playing these pop songs that weren't anything like what she wanted in the movie, I finally was one that said, no, am I allowed to just say next or no? Come on, guys. So they hated me. So that became a lot of stuff. So when it came to time to put the strings on A Wink and a Smile, I recorded with Harry and his band. It was just the rhythm section. But I had this whole string chart in mind. They said, there's no more money left for the strings. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just pay for it myself. And it was the greatest 3-hour session of my life because I didn't have anyone hanging over my shoulders. I got to go and sit with the strings and go, why don't you try this? Or let's try that without anyone saying, come on, Mark, hurry up. And so if you listen to it now, you'll hear the string chart. It's delightful. And it's, of course, in the movie. And it would have been bizarre without it. And so every time I listen to it, that's what I think of, that fantastic session that I just paid for myself.
Wow.
Wait, Marc Shaiman.
I was the kind of people who, when the song got nominated for an Oscar, I was like,
That's right, bitches. I have an amazing parallel story that I don't know if you know. The late great Marvin Hamlish, who I was obsessed with, he wrote the score to The Way We Were.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all that.
Okay, whatever. You may not know. He also wrote a chorus line. No. Anyway, so he said he was watching The Way We Were, and there's a moment near the end where Barbara says goodbye to Robert Redford. And he was thinking, oh, maybe I should add the vamp again for The Way We Were. And then he's like, oh my God, that vamp has played so much in the movie, forget it. And someone was saying to him, no, you want the audience to cry. We need to hear it again. And Marvin's like, we've heard it 4 times. And his friend said, no, you may have heard it 4 times, but you're the composer. The audience doesn't realize they've heard it that many times. You need to have it one more time. So he went to the studio and they said, like you did, we don't have any more money. And he literally hired the orchestra himself, just like you.
What did you
And he said he went to go see a screening, and finally at that moment, the audience cried. So it's the same story as you. I love it. One-handed.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Hey, Mark, I want to share this with you from someone here. Sleepless in Seattle is the most brilliant soundtrack ever and has been my go-to feel-better music since it came out.
That's sweet. I have so many stories. It would literally we could be on for hours. That made me think of another Sleepless in Seattle story.
We're not going anywhere.
Well, you're going to come back. So
there's a scene at the end when they finally see each other on top of the Empire State Building, and they've been referencing this movie the whole time. Love Affair. Our love affair is and I even wrote Meg Ryan's theme to do like an Irving Berlin thing where I use the chords and the holes of that melody for her theme, so that when she's running to the Empire State Building, we for the first time hear both melodies at the same time.
Whoa!
When we get to the roof of the Empire State Building, you put in a temp score on a movie when they're editing, and they actually put in the gorgeous romantic music from the actual movie for that moment, and we all agreed that's it. But I tried to re-record it with an orchestra. We transcribed the orchestration. We were in the big, beautiful Sony studios where classic movies have been recorded. But there's something about the way that those musicians would play when they played every day that certain style of music. And it must have been something about the way they mic'd it, that they don't mic it that way, that we did a good job. But we all agreed, you know what? Let's just use the actual original recording. But they had to, it had to be the most pristine version. So they went into the vaults and they got the actual recording, and it was on mag tape, it's called. It's this large, like big, fat tape. It doesn't exist anymore. Now it's all digital. But so there it was in the vault, and they put it up gently to record it, to get it on new, fresh tape. And the second the last note played, it disintegrated.
Oh my!
I'm talking to you now. I'm gonna cry. But yeah, what a moment. So yeah, you watch the movie now, and you hear that gorgeous moment. Now you have a little backstory there.
So it's the original music that's playing in Sleepless in Seattle, and it was literally the last time it was ever played.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Do we want to do Bobby, we assume, Marc Shaiman, that you maybe have a medical question. I don't know if you do, but anyone that has a medical question, let's add Dr. John LaPook. You can make a comment on the side. Marc Shaiman, do you have a question? I'll say our friend Gretchen had a question. Gretchen asked, I think it's basically like, if half the country is going to be infected, according to what they're saying, why isn't the other half of the country getting infected?
Mm-hmm. It's a matter of, we've talked about this, about flattening the curve, right? So eventually, we don't know how many people are going to be infected because nobody has immunity to it. It's not like the flu, where from past flu seasons we had immunity. So why are we paying all this attention? If everybody, or if a lot of people are going to get infected, why do we even care when they get infected? And the reason is, if we can blunt that curve, that big spike in cases now that could overload the medical system, if we just blunt it, flatten it out, then even though it might last a little longer, we won't get overwhelmed. And that's why we're telling everybody, we can't repeat it enough, to do the social distancing, to wash your hands at least 20 seconds. I know we were going to do a song, right, for a 20-second hand washing song.
Marc Shaiman has written a song for 20-second hand washing. This is perfect.
And
coming out soon.
The crook of your arm. But you're mentioning Nora Ephron, and I can't help. I miss her voice right now so much, because wouldn't she be a great voice with the right perspective? She wouldn't. She used to give her friends such specific advice, and I don't mean like how should you philosophically live your life, but like, what color socks should I wear today? And she would have been very. She's a voice I miss right now. I mean, I know we all do.
Hey, John, we have a question here for you. For Dr. John, is it really safe to order takeout? I want to support local businesses, but I'm afraid. I'm sure many people have that sort of question.
I know. This is, again, one of these, what you are obliquely referring to is the fact that in the last last week or so, there's some data that the virus can survive for a period of time on cardboard, that's paper, longer on harder surfaces like steel, plastic. And so the question is, what if there's some virus there? So you have to think like a microbiologist, like an epidemiologist. So you have to eat, right? Unless people have these huge warehouses. So just logic, wash your hands for 20 seconds. So make sure your hands are clean. I would do the unpacking and the opening, throw the stuff out that it came in, assume that it has virus on it. Okay. Wash your hands again, assuming that your hands just became contaminated.
Okay.
For 20 seconds. And then, I think that we can only do what we can do. I think that's the logical thing to do.
There's a risk, but it's not an enormous risk.
This is probably really kind of related too. So I'll show this to you here. Dr. John, should we be washing fresh vegetables with soap and water? How about the packaged fresh pre-washed? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I'm wondering that too. Yeah,
soap and water for the vegetables. I think it's pretty hard to do that, right? I don't think anybody is going to be able to tell you, here's the experiment that was done to give you the answer to that. Again, Seichel, just use your common sense. I would wash everything 20, maybe if it's 20 seconds with soap and water, this is based on nothing, do it longer. And there's a concept called a mixing chamber. So if you take something and put it in a pot and put water in it and dump it out, or just keep having the water come in, it's not as good as if you wash it, throw out all the water, wash it again, throw out all the water, wash it again, throw out all the water, because each time you're diluting it by how much water is in there.
That's good.
What's called a mixing chamber. I'm making this up from what I know from when I was doing lab work, but it's like it's a logical thing for me. Again, one of the things that's affecting people so much, and I get it, is nobody likes uncertainty. That's why the market's crashing. That's why people are anxious, and I get that. So I think we look to the science now. I'll give you something to be optimistic about. I have never seen such an effort, a Herculean effort, by the world scientists to come together very quickly on a project. So we saw the sequence being published by the Chinese. The next day, there was already a formula for a vaccine. That's out being tested now, won't be ready for a year and a half. I've heard today there's a lot of testing going on in terms of medications. The FDA, they're going to make an announcement either later today or tomorrow to give us an update about that. The White House conference today told us about that. And I know people like to bash corporations. The corporations are stepping up right now. They really are. The corporations that make the masks and the drugs, people are coming together. And President Trump said, somebody was asked at the conference today, do you consider this like the equivalent of wartime? And he basically said, yes, we're in a kind of a wartime stance. And I think if everybody gets into that stance, like at World War II, there's a beginning, a middle, and there will be an end. We are going to get through this. We have to have the mantra of grace under pressure. There will be sacrifice. It's going to be a bumpy road, but we will get through this.
Well, speaking of corporations, this is someone who's writing in here. Hey guys, want you to know Alaska Airlines is cleaning every one of the planes at least twice a day. I'm one of those cleaners, and I feel makes me teary, and I feel proud to be helping the curve. Thank you, Dr. Coop.
Yeah. What about William? All right, so I'm going to bring you back later because I want Mark to sing a certain song for you.
I want to say one more thing, which is I know I said it and I almost had ugly crying the other day. I'll give it another try. It just blows me away that about the artists. Artists are always there for us. Arts and the artists. If we're we need the science, but if we're going to be saved, I said, it's always been the artists that are there. People talk, well, why do we need the arts? It's kind of superfluous. We desperately need the arts, and right now, what you guys are doing is so important for people's physical health. We know that social isolation increases dementia, uncertainty, and being apart from each other makes you less well. It makes you unable to sleep. And if you sleep, that's when our immune systems are repaired. It's not just an emotional thing, it's a physical thing. And I want you to not forget, this is the CBS News chief medical correspondent interviewer here. James, don't forget to tell people throughout the country that it's not just here that they should be doing it. They should do their own things, and explain what the Actors Fund, that it's not just for actors.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're going to do that. John, don't go anywhere because I have a song for you later. James, just explain about Actors Fund. I want to just tweet this show. People know about it.
Sure. The Actors Fund, like John was saying, is not just in New York, not just in Los Angeles. They help people all over the country, and it's not just in New York. Well, that's doing it right now. And it isn't just actors. It's people that are behind the scenes. It can be the stage crew. It can be the people at the box office, the ushers. And it isn't just Broadway. It isn't just regional theaters. We're talking about theaters across the country that this is what they do for a living, and it's being affected. They're being affected. And right now, every day, the Actors Fund is helping people across the country, help them if they're not able to afford medicine, food. We're talking about the basics, utilities, rent, all of that.
Okay, so but we were saying
like we need
also,
a song, Seth, because
it's
emotional. I need Mark to bring us another song here.
Mark, give us something that's going to cheer us the hell up. What do you got?
Well, are we still sticking with the Oscar trio?
Why not?
Well, next up would be Blame Canada from South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Yes, that would cheer people up. Who did that on the Robin Williams did that on the and you wrote that with Trey and Matt?
Trey Parker, yeah. Me and him writing music and lyrics together.
Do you have a specific lyric that you remember writing yourself?
From another song, but I don't think I can say it because there's young people
just
listening.
Young people, cover your ears for 1 second. Mark, give me the lyric.
It's in the other song. They may cut your dick in half and serve it to a pig, and though it hurts, you'll laugh. and dance a dickless jig. I was always very proud of that double rhyme.
You still got it. No, again, the creation of the song, who came up with the idea? Was the plot already written and they needed a song? Like, how did it happen?
Well, this is the one song that I, Trey Parker is truly a genius. When people throw that word around a lot about a lot of people, this guy, he is a genius. He's just his brain, and he can do everything. So he was writing songs already, and then Scott Rudin brought me on as sort of like the grandfather who knew how to turn it into a movie music. And then once Trey got that I shared his sense of humor, he would like write a verse and a chorus and say, "Here, you finish it."
Wow.
Or I would finish something and send it down, to the studio for it to be animated, and he would just like accept that it was going to be all right. Like, it was the greatest collaboration I think I could ever imagine. And this one spot in the movie, it was right after Columbine happened, while we were writing the movie and making it. So the idea that the mother was this villain for what kids, we had to really tread carefully. Even for South Park, didn't want to make the mother like this Disney villain. Anyway, it went through a bunch of songs, and then finally Trey was over once, and we were actually filming for some sort of behind the scenes. And I said, "What if we made it a march?" And because they're mad at this cartoon that came from Canada, how about it's just like, I don't know, like a blame Canada, blame Canada. It was literally like in a movie where, and they're like, "Oh yeah." So this was the one song that Trey and I truly, really wrote together from beginning to end. So it's special for me that way. And it also only has one curse in it, which is the reason why it was chosen to be up for nomination, because none of the other songs could have ever been performed.
It's the reference to Anne Murray, right?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Oh, and I remember now that Paramount, the first lyric was, "And that slut Anne Murray too," and legal department said you can't say that because she could prove she's not a slut. You'd have to prove she's a slut, that she has accepted money for sexual favors. So we're like, well, how about, "And that bitch Anne Murray too"? They said that's okay.
Oh my God!
There are sheaves of memos from Paramount about the censorship on that movie and the logic behind things that, if only that could all get printed one day.
By the way, speaking of bad language and inappropriateness, I used "up there" in audition once. The face on the other side of the table were priceless. Just FYI. Okay, so this is Blame Canada solo version. And maybe do the original Anne Murray lyric.
Oh, all right. Well, what if she's listening? Or what if the lawyer's listening? You guys are all right. I see it's 2:44. It doesn't matter.
Bro, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I know. Where are we going?
No.
All right, well, bring on Blame. When I sing, I have the lyrics in front of me, so I can't see you. I wonder if I should want to see your expressions. And well, here I'm going to go. And I'm just going to sing it all. Times have changed. Oh, I rewrote one lyric at the end for today. Okay. Times have changed. Our kids are getting worse. They won't obey their parents. They just want to fart and curse. Should we blame the government or blame society? Or should we blame the images on TV? No. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. It seems that everything's gone wrong since Canada came along. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. We need to form a full assault. It's Canada's fault. Don't blame me for my son Stan. He saw that damn cartoon and now he's off to join the Klan. And my boy Eric once had my picture on his shelf, but now when I see him he tells me to fuck myself. Well, blame Canada, blame Canada, with all their hockey hullabaloo, and that slut Anne Murray too. Blame Canada, blame Canada. They're not even a real country anyway. My son could have been a doctor or a lawyer, rich and true. Instead, he burned a piggy on a barbecue. Should we blame the matches? Should we blame the fire? Or the doctors who allowed him to expire? Hell no! Blame Canada! Blame Canada! Let's send them Trump and quid pro quo. They must send Justin to Perot. What? Not Perot. I screwed up. Can we get another take?
Trudeau.
Wait, can we go back? Blame Canada. Blame Canada. Let's send them Trump, then quid pro quo. They must send Justin Trudeau.
Yes.
Can't believe I for an hour.
I knew exactly what you meant.
Now screwed it up. Blame Canada. Shame on Canada for the smut. We must stop the trash. We must bash the laughter and fun. Must all be undone. We must blame them and cause a fuss before somebody thinks of blaming us.
Yes.
Yay!
Can't believe that.
So needed this. Thank you. We have more donations. Don't forget to keep donating. Actorsfund.org.
Donate.
Okay, so we have batch number 2. Melissa from Maryland, $25. Thank you. Stephanie from Florida, $25. Mary from Massachusetts, $25. Joseph from Missouri, $103. Kathleen from Pennsylvania, $100. Joan from Houston, Texas, $100.
Houston, that's where he's from.
Yeah.
I would like to pledge that I will match whatever you raise during this session.
Whoa!
People give.
My husband just said, "What?" But yeah. No.
Oh my God, I'm tweeting this right now.
All right. Like I said, Joan from Houston, $100. Carol from Iowa, $25. Andy from Montreal, Canada, $37.
He wasn't offended. Marc Shaiman will match.
Here we go.
I'm doing it right now. Okay. Hey, can you bring Dr. LaPook and Mark and do a song?
Yes.
Can you please do your song for Dr. LaPook about hand washing?
Oh
No, I can't. But
Even
but before when he was talking, I thought, who's the most helpful doc in the world? John LaPook. John LaPook. I'm not allowed to talk about that hand washing song.
even the 30-second one?
No, I'm not allowed to. No, I'm not even supposed to be talking about it. But one should maybe read the New York Times soon. I'm not allowed. I'm going to get some trouble.
Please.
Mark, I have a question for you that I'm sure everybody watching this wants to know. Did they ever reimburse you for the strings?
No, it's in show business.
Yeah, that movie never made any money. Okay. Mark,
I remember another when you say that when I did the movie Sister Act, and that was one of the movies where I really, sometimes I watch movies and I go, why was I doing that? Why did I do that? But on Sister Act, I knew I really helped make this movie be what it was. And when it became a success, I do remember thinking, they're going to put a car in front of my house with a big red ribbon on it. No, it never happened.
Never happened.
No, dear. No, dear.
Mark, I just want to make sure that people at the Actors Fund who are watching this is what Broadway Bubby said. Make sure you include the $500 I just gave in the match. I did it through a different pocket than the one on YouTube. So Actors Fund, there you go. All right, Seth?
Okay, sorry, I'm just tweeting about this. Marc Shaiman, the latest movie you just did was a Mary Poppins remake. It's not a remake, it's a sequel. Okay, thank you. So please.
Mary Poppins Returns, the sequel.
Thank you. Please talk about this beautiful song, which you did on my SiriusXM show, which everyone is obsessed with.
Oh, and hold on. Before we do that, look right here. Mark, thank you for the music and Mary Poppins Returns. I've been listening to it more these days. Isn't that nice?
Thank you, Zandra Dancer.
Hey, talk about Mary
Dancer. It's a pop song. Tina Turner said.
I know everything pre-1985. Shut up, I know it. Okay, so go. So talk about this beautiful song that you wrote. How'd you come up with the idea?
Okay, well, so it's Mary Poppins Returns. And it's the moment in the movie where the kids finally say out loud they miss their mother who had died a year ago. Because Michael Banks, their father, has just not been dealing with it. And so these kids have had really no help in dealing with their mother's death. And so when the smallest son says, I miss mother, and a silence comes over the room, and Mary Poppins knows that she has to sing something that is comforting. That it's about loss, but in a way that can comfort a child and make them understand it. And then, so when we were trying to figure out how to write this song, Scott Whitman, who's brilliant, he remembered that in another one of the Mary Poppins books, there are 8 books, all different stories. In one book, she takes the kids to meet her uncle, who happens to be the man in the moon. So they go to the moon, and at one point he gives something to one of the kids and says, "Oh, I've been storing this on the dark side of the moon." And this is long before Pink Floyd. I realize I keep looking over there at James, but I should be looking up there in the camera, right?
Yeah,
So Scott had this great remembrance of this other thing about this place on the other side of the moon, where basically the phrase that we came up with, the place where lost things go. And then we went back to the song. We suddenly had an idea of how to put it in a way that kids would understand. And then we wrote the song.
wow.
Well, just in advance. So just be prepared.
My friend Jackie Judd.
Okay, this is your Oscar-nominated song.
Hold on, one more here that we sing.
Oh, let me also say before I sing, all I did as a kid was listen to Mary Poppins. And then I became a teenager, and all I listened to was Bette Midler. If you thought of two things that I was the most, in Seth speak, obsessed about, truly obsessed, Mary Poppins soundtrack, listened to it 24 hours a day, and then Bette Midler took over for Mary Poppins. And so can you imagine, not Oprah Winfrey has not had a full circle moment such as I had last year when Bette Midler sang our song for Mary Poppins Returns at the Oscars. I mean, I didn't even remember that when it was happening. It was all the kind of afterwards I realized, do you realize this what happened? Like, you talk about visualizing there in my little room as a little kid or teenager, listening to those records. And then that came true. I mean, can you believe it?
Wow.
I can't believe it, but it's beautiful also.
Oh.
I wonder if I can read lyrics without my glasses on. So here I go. All right, it's gonna be. Got to go to page 1.
Okay.
I have friends here who helped me. Do you ever lie awake at night, just between the dark and the morning light, searching for the things you used to know, looking for the place where the lost things go? Do you ever dream or reminisce, wondering where to find what you truly miss? Well, maybe all those things that you love so are waiting in the place where the lost things go. Memories you've shared, gone for good you fear, they're all around you still, though they disappear. Nothing's really left or lost without a trace. Nothing's gone forever, only out of place. So maybe now the dish and my best spoon are playing hide and seek just behind the moon, waiting there until it's time to show. Spring is like that now, far beneath the snow, hiding in the place where the lost things go. Time to close your eyes so sleep can come around. For when you dream, you'll find all that's lost is found. Maybe on the moon, or maybe somewhere new. Maybe all you're missing lives inside you. So when you need her touch and love and gone but not forgotten is the perfect phrase. Smiling from a star that she makes glow. Trust she's always there, watching as you grow. Find her in the place
Yay! We got to bring up a comment.
Oh my gosh.
Cannot hear this without weeping. Just donated in honor of Mark, as well as the two of you whose generosity and yours are heartwarming. And I feel so blessed to be watching every episode of this show. Look at that. I hope Scott's watching, who wrote that with you.
I think he is. He's technologically challenged.
Unfortunately, he's watching on a Betamax. It's all good.
No, hopefully we'll come back, the two of us.
You have to both come back. And Harvey wants to do it too.
And I do want to thank you two. You two just endlessly keep doing such wonderful things. I mean, you are real role models. And you, Seth, I said it to you on stage that night, no one's like you. Whenever you tell me, I know jokingly about your sister or mother saying, why can't you be like Mark?
Why can't you be like Marc Shaiman? Why
can't I be more like Seth Rudetsky? What you do, no one else does. You are completely unique. And you've been doing it for quite a long time, and yet you never lose your enthusiasm. I just adore you.
Oh, thank you, Mark. That's so sweet. Okay, I guess we got to wrap up.
I think we're wrapping up here.
I got to rehearse with Melissa Manchester in 5 minutes.
That's right. Speaking of, so it's not too late because the show's not over yet, and Mark said that he would match. So Seth just tweeted out.
Yeah, keep donating to actorsfund.org. Screw him.
So like Seth said, tonight is Melissa Manchester and Dr. John LaPook. How do we add Dr. John here? So
you just click at the stream.
I have to make a comment here very quickly. One of the things that's so poignant about that song is the truth. It's poignant. It's acknowledging the truth. You're not lying. It's difficult. And I think the antidote to fear is facts here. And even if those facts may be worrisome, the fact that people are leveling with you is in and of itself reassuring. That's why we have to look to the scientists. We'll talk maybe at a later show about how do you talk to kids. Remember this, that on an airplane when there's a bumpy ride, where does everybody look to? The flight attendants. You're looking at their faces. Are they worried? So it's complicated. There's no quick, easy answer with a flood of information that our kids are hearing. Let's talk about that at another show.
Yeah, we'll do it tonight.
Let's talk about it tonight.
There'll be more updates, I'm sure.
Okay, so at 8 o'clock tonight, Melissa Manchester. Mark, thank you.
And now I'm going to do what else I will do now 24 hours a day.
And it's the end of the show. And at the end of the show, those of you who have watched it know what we know.
Where's the dog? Hold on. Where's Ash? Ash?
There we go.
All right.
And then we add back more.
All right.
And
ready to play. Oh, Poop's puppy.
Ash says hello.
Hi. Where's your baby? Where's your baby, Mark?
She still goes to doggy daycare. Oh my God, what happened there? They're incredibly careful. We have to meet them in the driveway, 6 feet away. They exchange the leashes. So she's still going to daycare until they possibly close. But that's where she is right now.
Okay, good. Because, dogs can't spread it. I got a big thing from my vet that it's okay to have your dogs around, that they can't spread it. They're just angels. So say goodbye to that's Mateo.
Yeah, Mateo.
All right, we'll see you guys tonight at 8. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. And click and clack.